Hi everyone, this is the Decentralized Voices podcast. My name is Daria and I'm excited to have Francisco Pinto, the protocol lead at Request Network. In this episode, we'll discuss the DeFi trends and challenges, non-technical skills in protocol development, and if there anything Web3 folks could learn from the wine business. Stay with us for the whole conversation. Follow Decentralized Voices on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Francisco, I'm happy to have you today. Please give an overview of your professional background.
Thanks, Daria. Happy to be here. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I studied mechanical engineer and I started working initially before the crypto times, which seems like ages ago, but it was like 5 years. I started working as a process engineer in an automotive parts plant. The company was Japanese, so it's actually pretty interesting to work in process in a Japanese company. They were the creators of Lean and Kaizen, those methodologies. It was pretty cool. Then I moved into a more product role inside the same company. I was developing different products for big brands like BMW, Ford, Nissan. It was definitely something exciting to be working on early on in your career. But then the crypto rabbit hole got me. Right? I had this friend who was in Bitcoin since like 2014 or something. He was like this very
early adopter
and believer. And I started working with him in a small side project, and that ended up moving into a full-time startup. So I stopped my previous job as product engineer, and I started developing a startup in the crypto realm. The startup was pretty interesting. It was like this ability to put your money where your mouth is. So you were able to, when you saw something on social media or on the internet that you didn't agree with, you could stake against that opinion. People on the other side could then stake again against you, and it would create like this social bet on a specific topic. It's kind of like
Polymarket.
I'm sure you know Polymarket.
Yes,
but
yes,
instead of being
similar.
like a market, it was more individual. The company went well. Like I went through all the steps of building a startup, fundraising, MVPs, creations, and all that. We did an initial round. Everything was going decently well, but then crypto happened, crypto markets, and the Terra Luna problem crashed
2022.
everything. We were trying to raise our second round around that, and eventually we ran out of funds. And my co-founders still continued, but I lost faith and I left. And that's when I joined Request.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of a big spin to get to here. But I joined Request around 2 years and something ago. When I joined, we were about 3 people. It was like a fresh start for the protocol. Request Network have divided from Request Finance very recently. For those of you who don't know, Request Network is now like this protocol acting like as the backend of Request Finance, which is more like a product, and it's a bigger team. So we are now the foundation part. We had 3 people when I joined, clean sheet. We started developing the strategy almost from scratch, and we started trying to make the protocol grow on itself. It's going well. We've been growing a lot. We recently reached 1 billion in volume, transaction volume, and we are currently doing like 25 million a month. We are onboarding a lot of new projects, and the team grew from 3 people back then to 9 now.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the overview. And it's really interesting your automotive background because it's pretty unique and not many people involved in development and building such automotive brands. And yeah, it's really exciting. Thank you. So can you share, like you as a protocol lead, what do you do? Like how does your daily job look like?
Yeah, thanks for the automotive part and like the big company part did give me some skills around structuring and knowing how to work with in a big company with a lot of rules and all that. And a startup mentality or a startup life day to day is very different from that. You move from a company where everything has a lot of processes, so you don't really need to make a lot of decisions because there is a process that tells you what to do. And when you start trying to create your own company or start working at a small company like I did at the beginning of Request, it's completely different. Like the build everything from scratch, design everything, and make decisions every 5 minutes. I think that a day-to-day, more recently, for me as a protocol lead at Request, I don't think I have like a typical day. There are some things that I do every day, but big part of it keeps changing depending on priorities, problems that appear, and I can do a little bit of everything. If are tight, I can go there and have demo calls with people, or I can try help define parts of the product when necessary. It depends really on the needs. But something that I always do, there are 3 things on my day that I normally, those are pretty standard. So at beginning of the day, I always take a look at news and try to see if there are any changes in the market. So worldwide news, a little bit of financial ones and crypto ones. So especially on like right now, there's a lot of changes in regulation, and that's gonna affect stable coins, in which we are very invested in Request. I think you saw this week there was the Clarity Act and the Genius Act passed in the US. And it's creating all this big opportunities. Big companies are taking a look into it. You see the institutional adoption growing because of it, and part of my job is to adapt our strategy to these changes. Then on the day, I always have a growth meeting with the marketing BD and community where we share like what's going on, if there's anything kind of blocking the planned strategy, and if there's any removers that they need help with, and I'll try to tackle that. Then I also meet a similar meeting with the technical team, development team on the afternoon. So I could say that like my day is a bit divided, like supporting growth in the morning, supporting development on the afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I was interested if you have like more tech responsibilities or more like managers responsibilities, because protocol lead it depends, and my listeners are interested in different professions, different roles. So that's pretty interesting, and this combination of tech and management skills.
I'm sure there are protocol leads that are more technical than I am. I do a lot of manager functions, then strategical into product kind of functions. I don't code or I don't review code, but it's more protocol lead as I'm leading the protocol, not really architecture kind of stuff. We have great technical developers for that.
Yeah, thank you for explanation. What are the most valuable non-technical skills in protocol development? Because you mentioned Kaizen, you mentioned lean approach you learned from Toyota or maybe Nissan, but maybe you can share more, like what kind of skills do you need to be a protocol lead?
I think one of the skills that you really need, and this one's very specific to protocols, because when you're building a protocol, you're building like the infrastructure layer, right? And being able to think or to see 2 or 3 levels above it, it's not always very easy. So while building infrastructure, trying to understand how your clients will use it. So all the builders that you have on top are going to use it. So the app level, and then the user level, how they are going to perceive it. It's something that I think it's one of the most important skills when you're building so low level. So trying to understand how the apps are going to connect to that, and how the apps can provide a better experience to their users using your infrastructure. So the ability to see 2 or 3 levels above, I think it's one of the most important skills. Then, of course, like what I've learned in process and product from the automotive industry, which is like super traditional and super well developed. They have like standards for everything, rules for everything. It is interesting, like the ability of not focus like in lean thinking, like the ability of like not try to remove blockers, always do one thing at a time, make sure that ends before you bring something on, to remove any kind of potential paralysis with too much stuff happening. That's like interesting for managing operations also, and that's more of a general skill. It doesn't really apply only to protocols but to every company.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that you live in Portugal and you built your wine business also with your brother. So can you share a bit more about your winemaking journey?
Sure. Calling it a wine business is already a bit um,
Too much?
a bit too much, I would say, because it's really starting out. We just launched our first wine, but I'll get more into that. Yeah, like I live in Portugal. I'm originally from Portugal, and in crypto you have like when you meet people at events, they always ask, "Oh, where are you from?" and all that. And I mention Portugal, and I always make this joke like, I hope I live in Portugal, and I hope I never leave, because I really like the to live here. I think it has a great work-life balance, good weather. I love the food, and yeah, I think there's this cultural part of it that I really like. And one of the cultural things that I appreciate a lot is this wine kind of
Wine culture.
culture. Yeah. So in Porto, I'm actually originally from in a little bit outside of Porto, so 1 hour away, and it's called Vila Real, the city, and it's super close to the Douro region. So there's and the Douro region is where are the big quintas that do Porto wine. So my grandparents had small vineyards. They were farmers, and they always sold grapes. Now those vineyards have passed down the generation, and are moving into my brother and me. My brother is a winemaker, so we decided, why don't we try to do our own wine? And we are doing it like it's a side project for me. He is a bit more involved because he's the one that actually has to make the wine. I just help out. But yeah, it's going well. We just launched our first wine.
What type? What?
This one is a white wine, and from Douro. And yeah, right now it's super different because I'm normally at the computer seated all day, and then sometimes I get a couple bottles and I go to restaurants, try to sell them there, or wineries. It's been fun. It's more like a side project for now. So, but yeah, hopefully one day it becomes a business.
Yeah, and it sounds interesting because you can change your activities and go from computer and outside of keyboard, and yeah, like meet more people and spend more time outside and with like more beautiful setting, I guess.
Oh yeah, like the farmer's work itself, it's kind of hard, but like the views that you have there, like in the Douro region, it's amazing. Like being able to see that every day, it's great. And yeah, like everything happens very remote in crypto, not in the wine business, right? It's super traditional. Like if you want to meet people, you meet them in person, and you coordinate things in person. Everyone works in person. So the gatherings on this, like the revolve around wine. So you always have good moments around it.
So either anything Web3 teams could learn from the wine business.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways, but definitely like if you something that amazes me in the wine business is like their ability to wait. Like the Porto wine,
Hold.
yeah, the hodl but of the wine. Like a young Porto wine is like a 10-year-old Porto wine is considered young, right? And if you look at crypto, there is like a handful of companies that are more than 10 years old. I don't even know if there's that much. Like Request, we've been around since 2017. We are considered like this OG project from the ICO. And We are only 7 years old.
Yeah.
Whenever I visit these cellars and I see that the owner's great parents made wine 50 years ago, so they have 50-year-old port wine. It's impressive, like the craftsmanship and all the dedication to the holding that for 50 years. It's pretty impressive. In crypto, on the other hand, if something's more than 3 months old, there's already a new phase.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's one of the things that impresses me the most on the wine making business, that maybe crypto could learn something with.
Okay, so what things from Web3 can be implemented in wine business?
Actually, like now I'm working on Web3, and now I have the side project, the winemaking, and of course I try to make the connection, right? In my head, there's always like ideas on how one thing can be connected to the other. And I have a couple. One of the big problems of winemaking is the lack of transparency that happens between the farmers and the brands themselves. So how it works here in Portugal is that you have the Douro region, which is the only place where you can do port wine. And it's also one of the best regions for regular. And there are these great vineyards that provide grapes to the most expensive wines, but the brands will never tell you where, like, that those bottles, the premium bottles that they sell, come from those vineyards, because otherwise the farmer will want to have more money, because he sees his grapes being sold at €100 a bottle, which is like more than €100 a liter, and he sells to the producer at like €1. So this lack of transparency is kind of squeezing the farmers a little bit. If I'm sure that would be a nice way with blockchain to add some traceability and some transparency to that, to try to at least make it more fair to all parties involved.
Yeah, thank you. And let's talk more about DeFi trends. So, what should we expect to see in the DeFi market this year or maybe next year? Like, do you have any predictions or wishes?
I think that if things keep going as they are going this week, everyone's going to be very happy, right? Markets are green, everything's going up, new all-time high for Bitcoin, favorable legislation being approved. I can give some predictions more on the payments kind of side and more in the general side, not so much in prices and all, because that's very outside of
I mean trends in general, like the market trends, not about prices, because they're
Okay.
super. Yeah.
So I'm super excited about the next couple of years. I think that crypto is maturing now, and one of the things that excite me the most is that now it's coming to a time where you can actually abstract all the complexity of crypto while still keeping some of its values, like the self-custody and everything, at least the optional self-custody. So if people want to remove their assets to a self-custodial wallet, they still can, without destroying the user experience at the app level. So you start seeing like applications that we are still more on the retail side, but we start seeing applications that have Web2 completely like Revolut-like user experience using crypto on the background. And I think that's incredible, because for the next generation of users, like we all talk about the next billion users or mass adoption,
Yeah.
you need something like that. Like, people are not gonna learn crypto. They need to not know that they are using it even. Like, it's just a technology on the background. And I think that's starting to be possible with all the new developments in account abstraction, the new EIPs that came out. I think we as an industry are doing a great job on that. And that will also bring a lot of institutions to start using crypto on the background. Like, you start seeing like companies like Stripe, which is like this payment giant, starting
Yeah.
to build and buy, at least like buy a lot of crypto companies. They are definitely taking a look into it.
Yeah, the last one, Privy, I guess.
Yeah, they launched a few features by acquiring Bridge. Now they acquired Privy, so they're probably looking into a way to create accounts or smart accounts and Stripe to make the usability of stablecoins very seamless, which seems like a great idea. you start seeing like JP Morgan saying they are going to use stable coins, Walmart, Amazon, all that. Yeah, Revolut's already in for a while. So I think the adoption on stable coins is going to like grow exponentially in the next couple of years. So yeah, like the advantages of user experience that we have now combined with favorable regulation, I think that's gonna, and the advantages of crypto payments, are gonna make all that space explode in the next 3 years.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with you. Recently, I had an interview with the CEO of Eco. They built stablecoins infrastructure. Yeah, and he mentioned that like the biggest problem was UX, and now everyone tries to overcome it and to make it more seamless and more easy to use to like any user, like your mom, your grandma, like your neighbor. And the stable coins are the easiest way to start your journey in crypto.
Yeah, I agree. And like the ability of like being able to like create an account using your email, people being able to top up their account with a card or a bank transfer, being able to stake in Aave, but people don't even know if it's Aave or what it is, or Morpho or whatever, being able to stake and earn yield easily and move back from the app to your card, like all without signing a transaction. It's pretty impressive, while keeping like the ability to remove the funds into your own custody. I think that's something that some people will forget, but I think that I like to think that the option of self-custody, it's what makes us a bit different from the traditional rails.
From centralized solutions.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And if you could fix one thing in DeFi or Web3 in general, what would it be?
I'm very optimist. Like, I think that most problems are solved or are being very well addressed. Something that I see as problematic. So keeping up from my previous answer, I do concern myself that I go to a lot of events and talk with a lot of people. The amount of people that don't care at all by like any of the underlying principles of Web3. So like it's growing a lot. And I think that at least keeping the option possible for self-custody, at least, I think that's like something. It worries me that we are just gonna use crypto without providing any value, or no, the value can be there, but without keeping any of the decentralization or immutability, self-custody principles.
Yeah, I think Web3 has two different worlds, the world of builders and like cypherpunk people and those believers, or at least those who are understand that values, and like traders, gamblers, and people who just, I don't know, try to check the prices and bet and gamble on that. And there are two different worlds. And actually, I don't know how to connect them and if we need to connect them.
I think it's fine. Like, we can have both worlds. Like, there's people that come here for gambling and speculation and all that, and crypto's great for that, by the way. You can
It was one of the main use cases for crypto.
Yes, exactly.
Some years
So
ago.
if you're into it and you like it, I think crypto has great value on that. Now, my concern is more like when providing some kind of payments or financial infrastructure, if you completely centralized everything, it kind of loses a bit of the purpose of Web3 itself. Like, because no one cares about self-custody until it's needed, right? And we have cases like FTX and all that show that sometimes it is important. At least on my view, I don't think we should enforce it, but keep it as an option. So always have an option for users to self-custody seems important to me.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned that you're a big optimist. So, what keeps you optimistic about this space despite all this? I don't know, like all these highs and downs and cycles. What's your secret?
So bear markets can be challenging. I think especially if you're like raising at the time.
Yeah, you have this
But
experience.
yes, that can be very problematic. The sentiment is down, and when the sentiment is down, investors normally are not ready to deploy funds to it. But other than that, like if you're not raising and you have a good run rate to take the bear market ahead, I think it can be actually great. Like there's no fuss around everything. There's no distractions. People on your team are not refreshing CoinMarketCap every 5 minutes to see if they are getting rich. So if you actually want to build stuff and you have the resources for that, bear markets are perfect. And that's when most of the technological advances come up, because on bull markets, everyone wants to launch fast or follow the next hype, try to make some extra money. Bear markets actually kind of help stabilize the market, and I think they have a very good part on making all this possible.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Francisco. Actually, it was a great and a big pleasure to have you on Decentralized Voices. Thanks for sharing your experience and for inspiring others. I'm sure your experience is valuable to many people. So, guys, thanks for your attention. I'll leave all the links to Francisco and to Request under this episode so you can go follow him and learn from his experience and learn more about Request Network. So, thank you and see you next episode. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.